Welcome to this week's edition of Georgia Florida Baseball, brought to you by Georgia Showcase Baseball and its owner, Coach Ben House. I'm your host, Kevin Perkins, and today I have guest Tony Von Doltren. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
How you doing today, Tony?
Good. How are you guys doing?
I'm great. I'm from Perfect Game. No, I'm not from Perfect Game. You're from Perfect Game. Tony's from Perfect Game. We're going to talk about Perfect Game Baseball. It is the largest travel baseball in the world, right?
Yes, sir. We're the largest scouting service and amateur sporting or baseball service in the world. Yes, sir.
The largest scouting and amateur baseball sporting in the world. And you are, what's your title?
I'm the National Youth Director with Perfect Game. I mainly focus in on 8U through 14U.
Okay.
On the side.
Okay, so when they say that their mission is to grow baseball and to create it in a I got your mission statement right here. Hold on. Perfect Game's mission statement is to promote the game of baseball now and the future by hosting the highest quality amateur events while providing meaningful opportunities and information to players, families, MLB organizations, college coaches, and fans. You are the ground level part of that organization.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I came on 5 years ago and built that foundation. I wanted to bridge the gap between youth baseball and what Perfect Game was doing on, obviously the older kids side, high school level competition. So I came over 5 years ago and kind of bridged that gap between youth baseball and, transitioning into high school baseball.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to take a break. We're going to do the little intro thing, and then we're going to talk about that and much more after this.
This is the Georgia Florida Baseball Show, brought to you by Coach Ben House with Kevin Perkins from Surrounded by Sports.
Okay, we are back. I want to quickly thank our sponsors, the Dixon Firm. When a cheap lawyer won't do, the Dixon Firm. And Arden's Garden, who just jumped on board. They are Atlanta's home for cold pressed shots, juices, smoothies, fresh shots, and plant-based foods. Also, like and subscribe. Share this with your friends if you are getting good information out of it. Now, Ben, how did you come across Tony?
Well, I met Tony, I think it was in 2012. I had a 9U team here, and back then it was Travel Ball Select, it was USSSA, and it was Triple Crown, which Tony was a part of. So those are the big three tournaments that you could choose from to play in tournaments. So Tony would always send me information about, this was before they have now the Georgia Florida games with PG, but this was before that. They had Florida Georgia, and it was called Battle of the Beaches down in Jacksonville. And I would always get emails from Tony to actually come down there and play in those events. And you had to be pretty good to get invited down there to play. And Tony would always invite my team to go down there and play. And we would have a good time. Very good competition down there. And so Tony left Triple Crown and came here to Atlanta, and we stayed connected.
That worked out good, huh?
Yeah. It really did, man, because Tony's doing a great job up here in Atlanta now with PG, and we've stayed connected, and I had when Tony first moved up here to Atlanta, I had a 12-year-old team that was pretty good, and Tony would invite us to go play in some of these events here with the major. Well, PG, you have major categories, you have minor, and we were a major team back then, and he would always invite us to come play in some of the major events.
Now, Tony, your story starts in Jacksonville. Is that right?
Yes, sir. So a little bit about myself. Obviously, just like every little kid growing up, I started out with T-ball and progressed my way through. back in the day, it was only, rec ball you got with your buddies and you played in the local rec leagues. There was no travel baseball. And then transitioning into high school, obviously, it was all American Legion baseball. I'm sure Ben could attest to all of, American Legion baseball was huge, back in the 80s and 90s. And then, all of this started popping up in late 90s, early 2000s was the whole travel baseball realm. I continued on after my high school days. I traveled, I went on and played 2 years of junior college baseball at Seminole Community College in Sanford, Florida for 2 years. And then finished my last 2 years, my junior and senior year at Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton. So I was fortunate enough to play Division I baseball and be involved in the game. After I got done playing, I continued on I got my teaching degree from FAU. I was a high school baseball coach and also taught, middle school. But there was something missing. I wanted more from the game. So on the weekends, my brother and I would go and umpire travel baseball events on Saturday and Sunday for extra money, and started out with Triple Crown. Triple Crown back in 2000, early 2000s. There was an opportunity with Triple Crown to purchase the Georgia franchise back in 2006, which I did from Amy Farnsworth. She was the sister of big leaguer Kyle Farnsworth. So we made that transition back in 2006. And I was the Triple Crown franchise owner until the end of the 2018 season. So about 12 or 13 years there. And the opportunity came along where Perfect Game saw, our accomplishments and what we were doing in youth baseball. And they wanted to expand and get into youth baseball because that was missing. And, obviously with what they were doing, everything was geared towards 13U, 14U and older. And they wanted to reach those customers, at an earlier age and get them on board and have basically a customer for life. So that's kind of how it all transpired and where we're at today. I've been with Perfect Game since the start of the 2019 season and still continuing today as we speak.
Did you bring a system over with you from?
We had basically we brought, we were excited about the DiamondCast system, being able to track players at an early age. We have a scorekeeper behind every backstop that scores the game electronically. That information is shared for everyone to see. So basically, a kid could start out at 8 years old and continue on. It's almost like their own personalized baseball card. It's their own personalized stats throughout all their events they play with Perfect Game. And that's what was enticing to my group was, that by the time they're done playing, they can, 20 years from now, as a 30 or 40-year-old, they can go back and look at what, everything they accomplished with Perfect Game.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, you were saying before that you had when we talked earlier off air, you had said you were a little worried about baseball turning into just a country club sport. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, like myself and my brother growing up playing, my dad was a single father. My mother passed away when we were very young. I was 7, my brother was 4, and my father was a postal worker. He didn't have a whole lot of money. There's no way that myself or my brother could have, navigated through the world of travel baseball today as we speak, because it is an expensive sport to play at times, with, everything's going up in the world of today, basically field rental to umpires to baseballs to every single thing price wise, is going up. And also a lot of people don't know my father was deaf. So we were kind of like the eyes and ears from my father growing up. And, I have, there's a passion for me to help expand that and and grow and give kids opportunities to play the game that are not so fortunate. I know it has become, somewhat, we've been labeled as a country club sport, a specific, dynamic of culture, whether it, be money or, parents provide opportunities, with pitching lessons and hitting lessons and all that, those things. And also a cultural thing, I mean, it's predominantly a white, white collar, sport, with white athletes, which is unfortunate because there are so many good players that that are minority, that don't ever get a chance or an opportunity to chase that dream. And I'm here, and that's why I enjoy Ben and what he's doing here, along with Eddie that you had on, and John Hollins, and anything I can try to do to help those guys along the way, and use what resources we have to help further the game of baseball for those kids.
That's great. Let's take a break real quick. We'll hear from our sponsors. We'll come back and we'll start talking about maybe how we try to address some of those things. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, we're back. That was the Dixon Firm. That was Showcase Apparel, Ben's Apparel Company, and that was Arden's Garden, who's a new sponsor. I'll get that better in a little bit, somewhere along the line. Now let's get back into this. How do we make, Ben, maybe you jump in here. How do we make baseball more accessible to the south side of Atlanta and communities similar to that?
I think being able to.
I know a few years ago.
Go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I know a few years ago, Tony, we had a conversation about bringing, baseball to the South Side. And you've done a great job with, providing that with tournaments with Jeff Castillo and some of the things that you're doing also now with the major events here on the South Side with the younger kids and also with the older kids with the World Wood Bat. So that's been a great help. And I think that, I would like to see personally, I would like to see some of the showcases come down here on the South Side to kind of help the kids on the South Side stay here and to get some of the recruiters and scouts and things like that to come down since we do have the resources to host those events. That's what I would like to see on the South Side is more showcases here for the younger and the older kids. I know I do a free camp every year in Clayton County for the youth kids ages 8 through 12, and that's been very helpful. Just getting the word out about tournaments, different tournaments, and getting some of the kids that don't play baseball that hasn't been introduced to playing baseball to get those kids in to kind of show them how to play the game the right way, and also just to get them away and just have some fun.
Yeah, give them access to the game, and if they like it, they follow it. That's right, really exactly the main thing we're trying to do is give people a affordable way to get access to the game so that they can find out if they like it and if they do enjoy it. You were going to say something earlier, Tony?
Yeah, so I know one of the challenges, and Ben could probably reiterate this, was always the resources haven't been accessible on the South End, and obviously everybody wants to try and play on the best facilities they possibly can, and needless to say, the South End facilities in years past weren't the best facilities to play on. But with the help of obviously what the school system has done there, along with what Gresham Park, the Atlanta Braves have helped with Gresham Park and turn that facility around, the facilities are starting to improve vastly. Ben's done a heck of a job and helping us get on some of these turf facilities. A lot of these fields have turned to turf. It's easier, much easier to maintain. It's expensive to start out, obviously, to get the turf laid down, but once it's there, it's much easier to maintain and control. And those are the things that teams are kind of looking for to play on, is the best facilities and the best opportunities for them within our events.
Right, and
yeah,
and that's starting to happen.
yeah,
They're
it's
starting
like,
to have those kind of facilities, and like you were saying, Ben, if we bring more tournaments down, more people start to realize, oh, I can get this here closer to my home and things like that. Now, what are some of we were talking off air, all three of us, some of the challenges to baseball in general, to getting kids to play baseball at a young age and things like that. I know you had said, there's the they have high school NIL in Atlanta now, in Georgia now, along with the NIL deals at the college level. It's a little bit the payoff in baseball is a little bit further down the road sometimes to a good athlete. Either one of y'all want to jump in and talk about that?
Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, I know baseball's not the glamorous sport that people perceive it. Things like basketball and football obviously takes a little more precedent, is a little more covered within our, social media outlets. So to get, kids interested in the game of baseball off the jump, it presents challenges in itself. I think the longevity of you being able to stay within the sport, baseball, is by far the best and far superior sport to stay in. There's so many, long careers within the sport. Just look at all of the, major league players we have on board, turning in 10, 15, 20 years even, careers within baseball. But I think, I know there's a lot more money, right out of the gate with football and basketball at times, but baseball, there are a lot of dollars being thrown around now at such a young age in the high school level.
Right. Ben?
Yeah, I agree. I just know a lot of these kids are signing early just to get those deals. Well, not signing, but actually
signing college
early. Just to get those deals. Going to these major schools, these D1 schools. But a lot of kids don't realize that when you do commit, I mean, there's the other kids that are committing. So you may be a shortstop and you're committing, and that school's committed. Have 5 other shortstops that they've signed, and that young man has to make that team in the fall. So it's a year-to-year thing with college baseball. It's not just because you commit or you have to actually make that team going into the fall.
Right. Just because you signed a deal, just because you signed a scholarship does not mean you're on the team, which is different from the other sports.
No, it's year to year.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, right. It's year to year. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's similar as those were. Another thing that's interesting to me is college baseball has become one of the fastest growing TV sports, right? I mean, the numbers of people watching the College World Series are crazy. The SEC network and the Big Ten network and the ACC network have driven high numbers into this sport. College softball is growing at either the same rate or even higher. And yet the colleges have not changed the partial scholarship thing.
Yeah, that's a challenge in itself. I mean, you're trying to field a team of 25, 30 guys with 11.7, in baseball.
Right.
That, compared to, football's got 95 scholarships or 85. I think it's 85.
Right.
Basketball, you're only fielding a team of, 15 guys maybe.
Yeah.
And they have plenty of scholarship money to work with. So it's definitely a huge challenge, within the game of baseball and girls fast pitch softball, to deviate that money.
And a lot of times too, if you're a baseball player or a softball player, you're going to get the scholarship, but you're also going to need to have good grades because you're going to need more money coming from somewhere else to help you get through school.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Which is another reason why both of your organizations push academics along with
Academic.
being good at ball, right?
Correct.
Yes, sir. It has to go hand in hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I do feel like the colleges, they're making all this money off of baseball and softball. Go ahead and give some back. Give these kids full rides.
Right.
You know?
I mean, a full ride in baseball is pretty much unheard of unless, you know, obviously
You're going to get
you're the top
you're,
1%.
You're draftable. Yeah,
Right.
you're draftable. Unless you're a draftable kid, you know, it's unheard of for a baseball guy to get a full ride.
Right. But okay, what are some of the things you do, Ben, that with young kids to try to make sure they stay in the game? Do you work on encouragement more, or because you don't have that instant gratification all the time?
Well, what was that?
Because you don't have that instant gratification all the time.
No. It's daily encouragement with the younger kids, you know, because they hear so much. And it's such a failures game that you have to continue to encourage them. You have to continue to teach. You have to continue to develop with these younger kids because they can get lost in baseball and defeated so easy, just from striking out or having a bad inning on the mound. It's just continuous encouragement with the younger kids, and that's what we deal with on a day-to-day basis here in my organization. It's just making sure that the kids, when they come and they leave encouraged, making sure that that their spirits are high, you know, so they want to come back and play, because it's such a tough sport to play.
And Tony, can you speak on that a little bit? I mean, the younger group of kids is your specialty.
Correct. So just harping on what Ben said, it is a game of failure. But that's what we deal with in life. I mean, life is a game of failure. It's, you know, hey, can I pick myself up off the mat and try again? That's where we're at with the game of baseball. And that's why it's such a great sport. And that's why, you know, the coaches and the organizations drive the sport and provide, you know, that encouragement and, you know, the need to, you know, persevere and move on within the sport. Baseball has so many games within the game. Obviously, it takes a huge amount of intelligence to play. There's so many, you know, strategies and things, you know, to help win or lose a game for, you know, for a team. So I really, and that's why I love pushing kids and helping kids any way that I can, along with, you know, providing, you know, their successes, you know, through our social media outlets and, you know, making sure they're recognized and kids keep pushing and, you know, pursuing that dream.
All right, man. I think that's a good spot to stop on. What do you guys think?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. I want to thank our sponsors again. The Dixon Firm. When a cheap lawyer won't do, the Dixon Firm, and Arden's Garden, Atlanta's home for cold pressed shots, juices, smoothies, fresh shots, and plant-based foods. Thank you to our sponsors, Ben. Thank you for putting this whole thing together. I appreciate it, Tony. Thank you for coming on for us.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you
Thank
guys.
you, KP. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Ben. And one more thing before we leave, you know, Ben, you know, I stay in touch with the Ford family who originated Perfect Game back in 1995. And they still host their own clinics for underserved and underprivileged kids. And I'd like to put you in touch with those guys. You know, they bring in former MLB guys to help, you know, these kids, you know, and that are hands-on as well. So along with what we're doing with PG as well. So would definitely pursue that with you, as you know, and I appreciate you guys having me.
All right, really appreciate that, Tony. Thank you.
Hey, Ben, if somebody wants to help out, get in touch with you, how would they do that?
My direct contact is 678-469-5994. My Instagram is showcase_baseball GA.
All right, Tony, you want to throw any of your stuff on?
Yeah, you can reach me anytime. My email is tvondolteren@perfectgame.org. And then I'm always free and available on my cell phone as well at 904-982-5296.
Awesome. Folks, don't forget, like, subscribe. Appreciate y'all now. Thank you very much.